Welcome to the Confidence Through Health podcast. My name is Jerry Snyder. As a health, wellness, and sports performance coach, my goal each week is to bring you experts to help you take control of your health and build your self-confidence. Thanks for including me today on your journey to better health. I want to say thank you to Social Media Cowboys for sponsoring this week's episode of the Confidence Through Health podcast. If you need help with a website, if you need social media needs for your business, if you need help with AdWords, SEO, all those things that you know you should be doing, but you are too busy to do or you're too confused about, they are the experts that you need in your corner. If you're interested in launching a podcast, such as mine, they help me edit my podcast and do a fantastic job making sure that all of the technical side of it is handled and we launch a nice, neat, edited podcast episode each week. So I want to thank Social Media Cowboys for their continued sponsorship of the Confidence Through Health podcast. You can find them at socialmediacowboys.com, or you can find them as well with other sponsors at confidencethroughhealth.com. So Liz, I want to thank you for being a guest on the Confidence Through Health podcast.
Oh, hi, Jerry. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
And if anybody listening has not picked up on it, you're in Australia and I'm in the US. So I just want to put a disclaimer out that if there is any audio issues or delays, that like people should know that we're on opposite ends of the world as we're recording this. So, but what, I love what you're doing in the yoga space, and I think there's so much, it's impactful, and it's so much for people to understand that it's not just yoga and what yoga can do, but when you're coming at it from a healing and restorative part, looking at trauma, like it adds so much more to truly healing ourselves and not just the physical side, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, the way it's portrayed in the West, especially with social media, is portrayed like an exercise class.
Right.
And it has lost a lot of that. If you go to a lot of modern day yoga classes, they're not somatic.
Yeah.
They're, some vinyasa flows with the sun salutations, or almost, I joke, like a dance routine, and they've lost their effectiveness.
Yeah.
Because teachers often get caught up in the entertainment. I've got to entertain my students, or
Right.
they get bored themselves.
Yeah.
And I believe yoga is unfortunately really misunderstood. I mean, I didn't get it when I started years ago, and I'm trying to get that message out there so more people can find it accessible and discover the true power of yoga.
Yeah. Well, and I know that there are people that think it's satanic, or it's got origins and different things that are just, it's not true. And because I mean, really anything can be twisted into an evil or negative or destructive form or fashion. But at the root, it's not about any of that stuff at all. It's about connecting with yourself and healing yourself, right?
Yeah, it's union with yourself. It's an ancient tradition, an ancient spiritual tradition. As Dr. Timothy McCall in the US, famous yoga therapist, and he's also an MD, he wrote a book called Yoga as Medicine, says it's as religious as Alcoholics Anonymous. It can be as religious as you want, but it doesn't have to be. Some people reckon it is definitely a religion. I tend to disagree because my late mother was a devout Catholic. She went to church every Sunday until she got too sick.
Yeah.
She practiced yoga.
Yeah.
But I respect the people who won't. But yeah, it is misconstrued.
Yeah.
I don't consider it a religion. I know I have relatives who think it brings out the devil in you.
Right.
That's fine. That's their opinion.
Right. But then and so one of the things I saw on your website, in the way that you phrase this, I think is important to dig into, because the three keys of releasing, relaxing, and restoring. And I love that you put it in that way, because you can't just, like, if you don't release something, you're never going to restore. right?
That's
So if
right.
you've got trauma
Yeah,
and you don't deal with it, you're never really going to restore back to where you need to be. So you've got to start at the beginning.
exactly. And years ago, when I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder in the 90s,
Mhm.
1992, there wasn't nearly as much research
Right.
on PTSD and just trauma. And they treated it with a top-down approach in that they treated it with medication. And I'm not anti-medication, but I believe in a holistic approach to things.
Mhm.
They didn't realize how it's stored in the body, the mind-body connection. And so I was treated with antidepressants and play therapy, talk therapy, and it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
I was still having violent nightmares and flashbacks. So I was diagnosed in 1992,
Mhm.
and I was still having violent nightmares on my first yoga teacher training in 2012
Oh, wow.
because, I've got technically complex PTSD, but obviously it was still in me, and
Yeah.
I was mortified to find out that my roommate on the teacher training in Bali, beautiful Bali, she moved out into another hotel and told everyone, "Oh, I can't stay with Liz. She's violent nightmares." And
Oh,
I
wow.
had no idea.
Mhm.
And and it wasn't until I got into these somatic practices that I started to heal from
Mhm.
those sort of effects, because PTSD can have so many repercussions.
Yeah.
And now they understand that you need to treat the body, and often a bottom up approach can work better. We start with the body. So a lot of people aren't ready to do talk therapy.
Right.
And so modalities like somatic yoga can be really effective. And there's therapists like Bessel van der Kolk, who wrote a book called The Body Keeps the Score, and then
Mhm.
Peter Levine. They'll only work with patients who practice some sort of somatic body practice,
Right.
because they know talk therapy and medication is not enough. And it definitely was not enough for me. I mean, one of the later stages of PTSD is addiction. I smoked for years,
Yeah.
much to people's shock these days. And yoga was the only thing that could get me to stop. I
Wow.
smoked from the age of 14 to 15. I had body image issues, like a lot of trauma victims, especially sexual trauma victims, and a lot of women. I'm going to generalize here. It has
Right.
happened to male people too,
Yeah.
or people who identify that way.
Right.
And and so the smoking was an addiction and a coping mechanism to disassociate. And for being in a job I hated, I worked for the federal government here in
Mhm.
Australia. And I'm not saying it's a bad career.
Right.
My husband worked for the federal government. He loves it.
Yeah.
Wasn't for me.
Right.
And yeah, I smoked. I drank alcohol to cope. And then I started yoga because it was the latest fitness fad. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
it was hot yoga, and my friend
Oh,
said
yeah.
to me, "Oh, it's the latest fad. You're gonna burn heaps of calories, you'll lose weight, you'll get more flexible, you'll be like a pretzel."
Right.
And, there's that stereotype, right, with yoga teachers. And yeah, so that's what I thought it was. And yeah, it was really tough. It was 90 minutes. It was Bikram yoga,
Mhm.
90 minutes, 40 degrees Celsius. Don't know what that is Fahrenheit. That's
Right.
high.
It's up there, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's over 100. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't conversion, but it's hot, and
Mhm.
it was excruciating. And she happened to say to me right before the teacher came in, we're sitting, I asked her, why are we sitting in this spot? She said, oh, I figured out, I've tested the room. This is the hottest part of the room. I'm
Oh,
like, well,
wow.
thanks. I couldn't wait for it to finish, but I got hooked.
Yeah.
And then I discovered other styles of yoga, and yoga specifically for mental health,
Hmm.
which got me more into somatics and releasing trauma,
Yeah.
and started to heal me more from
Yeah.
the nightmares. That and EMDR.
Right.
EMDR has been a game changer.
Hmm.
Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing.
Yeah.
And yeah, the tremoring has really helped. So it was holding a lot of issues in my tissues,
Right.
as they say.
Well, and that's I've had multiple people on before that have talked about, your back pain. It could be trauma that's stored in that area, right? Like different types of trauma are stored in different places. And and yeah, when you don't deal with it, there's so many other things that come up that when you go to a traditional doctor, they're going to just say, well, take this and your symptoms will go
Painkillers.
away, right? You're going to mask your symptoms, but it never gets to what the true problem is. And so you never restore because you never deal with what the problem is. And even when we think it's, oh, it's just my lower back, it's because of the way I do my job, or it's this or that. And it's like, no, it's that thing that happened a long time ago that you never dealt with, that you just,
Yeah,
especially for men that are taught just, don't show your feelings, just stuff it down, just move on with life. And
yeah.
then,
Don't have feelings.
yeah, and 30, 40 years later, you can't move and your body's a wreck. And it's all because you didn't deal with trauma.
Yeah. And as we get older too, our fascia, this amazing connective tissue, this biggest sensory organ that holds us together like a Spider-Man web,
Yep.
what Jill Miller likes to say, a cotton reel. It's easier for it to get damaged
Mhm.
because it gets dehydrated more.
Mhm.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what I've found out, because David Bocelli wrote a groundbreaking breaking book, Tension, Shake It Off Naturally, or it's about tension and trauma release exercises,
Yeah.
and how so many people with PTSD have lower back pain,
Mhm.
but also because of the psoas tightening, because we go into this, mammals do it naturally. We
Mhm.
we we round down and we protect our organs
Right.
and contract. And because of it wrapping in front of us, being such a unique muscle, it tightens the
Right.
diaphragm, our primary respiratory muscle. And that was actually one of the first practices I did, was this shaking to release my psoas. And I wondered why, when I was a horse rider, because I was a horses were my thing before yoga,
Uh-huh.
competed nationally.
Oh,
I'm just
nice.
definitely a runner like you. My husband is. But I had a lot of women get stomach pain with
Mhm.
menstrual cramps. I always got back pain and hip flexor pain because of this tightness that
Mhm.
I'd held for years. And the Bikram yoga started to release the psoas a bit as I stopped getting hip pain, but it was, I still got the lower back pain. And the TRE was the first introduction to it. And then I did some trauma specific yoga training in the US, in Arizona, all the rattlesnakes.
Right. Yeah.
I've been to the US a few times. I've even been to Texas twice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I love the US. It's a great
Yeah.
country to come to.
Yeah.
And the ancient yogis would hold poses until you started shaking.
Mhm.
Like they would hold bridge bridge pose, this back bend.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to hold it for like 10 minutes. It was really hard work. And it started the shaking and the tears.
Mm-hmm.
And tears are another form of releasing,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and crying in a yoga class is more common than people realize. It's a
Mm.
somatic release. But yeah, so that was my introduction, was this trauma-specific, mental health-specific yoga with Life Force Yoga. Used to be based in Tucson. Amy Weintraub founded it.
Mm-hmm.
Rose Crest now runs it. Just want to credit those two wonderful yogis for what they've taught me.
Right. Well, and
But
so I feel led to share this. I've never told anybody this. Like my wife knows a little bit of it, but like my dad and I had a very tense relationship, and even to the point where I was trying to make amends a couple years ago, and he lived in Georgia, and I flew to Atlanta to run a race, and was like, "I'm gonna come. You can come watch me." I hadn't seen him in years.
oh,
Rarely talked to him. Like he wouldn't call me on my birthday. Like very tense relationship, and so I flew, and I'd arranged it with his second wife. Like, she was like, "Okay, we're gonna be there. We're gonna come. We're gonna spend the day with you. You come in a day early. We'll come spend the day with you. We'll watch you race." And I was like, "Okay, great." And I get there, and they text me, and she texts me, and she's like, "Yeah, he won't come." And I was like, "Okay." That weekend, like I got this knot in my hamstring, and I
oh,
couldn't, like, nothing I could do could get rid of it. Um, and it hindered me a little bit when I was running, but not a lot. And so I was like, okay. And I got needles put into it. I got electrotherapy. I got everything done. And it was like enough to get over it, enough to manage it, enough to manage it. Um, he passed away in February, and the pain went away in March.
yeah. And there's the mind-body connection, right?
And it's just like, okay, I don't have to deal with him anymore. Like I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to have that thought of, is he going to be there to let me down again, or any of those
Oh,
things. And so I was like, yeah, the pain went away in March, and I didn't do anything
that,
special. Like it wasn't, you know, I didn't do this next new thing that just healed it. It was just gone,
wow.
you
You were
know, and,
holding something there
and so that
because
trauma is real.
oh yeah, and it's so great. There's been all this research on it, and fascia research with
Mhm.
like studies on even people suffering from depression after having liposuction because it
Mm,
changes the fascia. I
right.
couldn't find a scientific study, but I got told about it in my fascia release training and thought,
Hmm.
wow.
Oh
But
yeah.
and then there's some people that think that you only hold it in your hips.
Hmm.
After the second fire last year, I can tell you that's definitely not the case, like with your hamstring,
Yep.
because it wasn't just in my hips.
Yeah.
And it was in cobra pose, that back bend. My head would bob up and down, side to side. I do myofascial release
Hmm.
for the fascia, which is somatic too,
Hmm.
because it's not just for the physical body because of the mind body connection. And I release my temporalis here on the side of big muscle on the side of the eyes. I
Yep.
release masseters down the SCM side of the neck, back of the neck, and I would tremor. I never
Hmm.
used to do that before because I'd spasmed there
Yeah.
after the fire,
Yeah.
and sympathetic nervous system had held on.
Hmm.
It was just a really amazing experience. Had I not known about this natural shaking that mammals do to prevent going into the freeze response,
Right.
as described in polyvagal theory, I would have been like, oh God, what's wrong with me? Because my husband saw me shaking, just lying on my stomach in bed a few nights after the fire. And he said, what is wrong with you? And I'm just like, and I told him, and he's like, oh. And I knew it was a good thing. I was
Yeah.
getting it out there.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's so important to in our busy schedules and our busy lives, and there's so much stuff that comes at us, right? Because like, I mean, I know that most of us know that we've got more at our fingertips with our cell phone than, generations before us could have ever imagined to get in a lifetime.
Oh
Like
yeah.
how much information is out there that we're constantly bombarded with, even when we don't want to see it. Like
Yeah.
somebody decides that we're supposed to see it, and like all that stuff going on. If we aren't intentional about taking that time to deal with the trauma, to to release it, to spend the time in, if we were just in a yoga class or just trying to do it at home and we're like, oh, let's just do 10 minutes because movement's good and we're just going to move on. Like not spending the time there is so detrimental long term to us, isn't it?
Oh yeah, especially with the neuroplasticity of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And we lose faith in ourselves that, oh yeah, I didn't do it yesterday. I'm not going to do it today. But
Right.
yeah, we have time to look on our phones, but we often say, oh, no, I don't have time for self-care. Well, think about, yeah, how much time we spend scrolling on our phones because of the dopamine
Yeah.
effect. Yes, it's
Yeah.
interesting. I've certainly figured that one out, and I avoid certain, for my own self-care.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember who said this, but where your attention goes, your energy flows.
Oh yeah.
There's certain things I avoid, like the Los Angeles fires this year was horrendous.
Yeah.
It was horrified. I could not believe it was happening. I mean, we've seen bushfires here in
Mm-hmm.
Australia, but they're more bushy areas. They're not like this city group together,
Right.
And I would watch on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
looking at it, and I thought, I'm triggered. Close Instagram because all you're going to see is the fires. It's not that I don't care.
Right.
I do, but I just can't look at it. And that's was part of self-care.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to do that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Knowing, no, and that's a big piece of it, is knowing what's going to trigger those responses, because even if you've already dealt with the trauma, there's still memories.
Oh
There's still
yeah.
triggers
Held
that are
and
going to bring
unleashed.
it up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you can't, yeah, you can't completely avoid it. And even if a yoga teacher runs a trauma informed class and they do every protocol they've been taught,
Mm-hmm.
it's not foolproof. A
Right.
student could still get triggered.
Yeah.
And it's the yoga teacher learning how to ground the student and bring them back to the present,
Mm-hmm.
bring them back somatically to feeling where they are with certain techniques is important. Because I've had yoga teachers say to me, oh, no one in my class has trauma or PTSD. Most of us have been through a traumatic experience. A traumatic experience don't have to be like a fire
Right.
or a military experience. It can be other things.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, how do you know that? They're going to
Yeah.
actually come to the first class and say, oh, by the way,
Right.
got PTSD. So, and a lot of people come to yoga for mental health.
Right.
There's a survey done here in Australia that discovered that people either come to yoga for mental health or they keep practicing for mental health.
Oh yeah.
I kept practicing for mental health.
Yeah.
I didn't come to it, as you know, but that's what kept me going
Yeah.
because exercise wasn't enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's so important to also know that like dealing with our trauma, it let me say this the right way, like it's something that could be scary, but it's not something we should necessarily be afraid of. Does that make sense?
You mean like if it could happen to us
Well,
or
if
it
we're
could
if
happen?
we're if we haven't dealt with our trauma, if we're like, okay, I'm gonna go try and deal with the things that have happened to me. I'm gonna release this. Like that could be a scary thing, but we don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to be afraid of doing it.
No, we just need to approach it the right way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And know that it's actually quite a normal thing.
Yeah.
It's still mental health, there's still stigma there, and there's still misunderstanding with trauma, like with the celebrities in the Los Angeles Times. Oh, well, it's okay for them. They've got heaps of money.
Right.
They might be in a better financial position. Doesn't mean it wasn't traumatic.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're going to be scarred from it.
Yep.
They have a right to be traumatized from it,
Right.
no matter how much money you've got.
Yeah.
I guess a lot of people don't realize the repercussions of not releasing the trauma, like the changes in the brain with the amygdala, the alarm, and the mind body connection, and that they're not going to just be right a few days later.
Yeah.
And people, we're so unique, we respond differently. Like my husband copes better than me after last year. This was the second fire for me, and I already had PTSD.
Yeah.
It affected me a lot more than I thought it would. My daughter, it affected her a bit. Luckily, she was 4. If she'd been older, they said she would probably definitely have PTSD diagnosis, but it still affected her. Like, she saw a chimney in winter and went, the house is on fire, and she panicked. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, it's okay. So, yeah, but no, at least we've got more modalities to treat the trauma as a holistic approach now and get to the root cause rather than band-aiding it. Yeah.
Well, and that's a super that's a super important piece of it, is to make sure that you're getting to the root cause,
Yeah.
right? Because if you don't, it's like the weed that you just mowed over, but you didn't take the root out, and it's just gonna in 2 weeks later
Exactly.
you go like, why is this weed still here?
Yeah, that's a reductionist approach. Yeah, and I'm not against medicine, but as I said, it wasn't enough for me.
Yeah.
It, and there's all these repercussions with untreated PTSD. It can even lead to fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, all autoimmune, and other autoimmune conditions, the immune system. So, yeah, getting to the root cause, holistic health is what I believe in.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, like if your symptoms are so bad that you need medication, do the medication. But in the meantime, also dig into, how do we fix this from the bottom level? Like, you've got to be able to live and function, and so if the medication helps you do that, great, but don't just stop there.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wasn't enough for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So,
at least we're becoming, more
no,
aware of that. Yeah.
yeah. Well, and people, like, my wife and I, we adopted both our kids, and so we went through
Oh,
all
that's
kinds of
lovely.
trauma sensitivity information, because
Oh,
people don't understand that even though they were both infants, that like they both have, and they're teenagers now, and we can see and relate back to, like, okay, right, this is adoption related trauma speaking out,
really?
right? And things can trigger them. My daughter had to do a project for school that was a family tree, and so
Oh,
we messaged the teacher and was like, okay, wait a minute, because in the instructions it was like, it needs to be biological family, and we were like, we don't have anything. Like, we have very, very little on her side. Um and and we were like, but yes, we understand what you're trying to get at, because it's a health class and they're trying to link, hereditary diseases and things, and so like they're trying to open
oh,
their eyes to those things. And we're like, but you need to know that if you're going to do this and she's got to present to the class or anything like that on it, or answer questions in front of anybody, like, she doesn't have a lot. And there was a big discussion. We called our social worker from her adoption and got her on the phone and talked through a bunch of stuff, because she was just like, I don't know. I don't know anything. The last time we saw her birth mom, she was 6 months old. So she was like, I don't remember anything other than just pictures. Um, and so that there's still things that from way back that even you didn't even know the trauma existed. that can still
Intergenerational
show up.
trauma.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
can
it's
still
amazing.
show up and you still have to deal with it.
Yeah, yeah, because some symptoms don't show up for years.
Yeah.
And also then there's that, as I mentioned, the intergenerational trauma that I think that's a relatively new thing,
Mm-hmm.
but that would be my understanding of the root cause.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not here to diagnose.
Right. No, I know. Yeah.
Outside of my scope, but
Yeah.
it's amazing the effect it can have, you
Right.
know?
Well, and it just shows how much that our body stores and how much our cells remember of what happens in our life. That even, she at 2 years old, I mean 2 years old, at 2 days old, at a month old, at 6 months old, that she really has no memory of those times, and that she can recall, but her cells absolutely remember those moments.
That's an incredible story, both of yours. Wow.
um
Great to share, though.
well, but it just shows that, like, it because most of the people that are listening, especially my friends, and that they think I'm one of those people that has everything together, right? And
Oh,
has,
yeah.
like, that all life is just great and it's just going and you're just doing what you love to do and everything's just, and there is that part of it, and that's great, but everybody, no matter who you are, has these things to deal with.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the yoga philosophy tells us that suffering, everyone suffers
Mhm.
in this. And, but us human nature is to judge and to say, oh, it's all right with them,
Right.
you know. Yeah.
Um,
So we don't know that, yeah, what's going on really.
right.
Yeah. So we all suffer, I believe, in different ways. And
Right. Um, and I know we've talked a lot about yoga. I mean, there's other ways, obviously, to get to the root cause of trauma, right? And you mentioned EMDR, and there's other things that can be used in conjunction with other tools, right? So just I just want to make sure that people know this, like, they don't have to do yoga to be able to get to their trauma and solve
no,
it, right?
no,
Yeah.
definitely no. And because I understand, as I said before, that I've had a few clients say, I used to teach at a hot yoga studio, and they're like, I'm only doing the hot Pilates because it the yoga interferes with my religion, and I respect that. That is,
Right.
they're allowed to say that. I'm not going to try to convince them. That's fine. Yeah, well, myofascial release techniques,
Hmm.
I believe, because they hydrate the fascia, that biggest sensory organ, all these sympathetic nerve
Hmm.
endings, I believe is another way to release it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be I see, when I teach it, I've learnt to teach it as part of a yin yoga class.
Hmm.
The style that you hold poses for, a few minutes
Right.
to tap the deeper connected tissues. You might add a ball into the pose or do some rolling in between. But people, you see people at the gym rolling.
Yep.
Unfortunately, a lot of them don't do it the way they should.
Right.
But if it's done correctly, I believe that can release it. Like, when I say correctly, you see people at the gym and they have those knobbly foam rollers,
Hmm.
which I used to use, but I'm after starting with Jill Miller, the creator of Tune Up Fitness in the US, and using her products,
Hmm.
I don't generally do that. I do use foam rollers, but the softer ones, they're a broader shear on the fascia, but the balls
Right.
can get to trigger points. But I guess it's using the right tools and also knowing how hard to go, what
Mm.
roller methods to use, because different methods have a different effect on the fascia. And mm, practicing it somatically in that you notice the sensations that are coming up, got breath awareness, because your body will say to you, it might start tensing and saying, hey, you're going too hard, and you'll
Yeah.
start feeling stress. I don't think that's going to help.
Yeah.
But if you feel that you're feeling better and after a minute, you go, oh, yeah, this is doing me. Or you
Okay.
feel some gentle tremoring. I believe that's another way
Yeah.
to relieve the
Well,
trauma because of that.
and that's where, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's where that relax piece comes in, right? Like one of the things I tell my athletes is, and I've heard numerous other people say this too, in as far as runners, like you can tell the difference between somebody who's been running a long time and is like a top quality level athlete, not just because they're fast, but because they run relaxed.
Oh,
Like they
yeah.
don't look like they're working
But
hard.
like these hunched shoulders and
Right. And so
yeah.
like, yeah, if you're using a foam roller and you're super tense trying to get it and you're really like, that's not going to work.
No,
You have to
because it's not.
relax into it.
Yeah, exactly. You want it actually. So this is how powerful it can be because of the location of the vagus nerve, that wandering nerve, part of the parasympathetic nervous system. I won't use the acronym because people
Yeah.
think I'm saying something different.
Right.
Because of the connection, I have actually last year I discovered this because I suffered from a lot of hypervigilance,
Mhm.
increased heart rate,
Mhm.
danger zone because the fire occurred at nighttime.
Yeah.
I would use the yoga tune-up balls to massage my head
Mhm.
and my diaphragm too to release that. And I actually, there were a few times I fell asleep
Oh,
when
wow.
I was releasing my head. And I thought, wow, that shows that how it stimulates that vagus nerve, which we
Yeah.
improve that vagal tone
Mhm.
recovery from trauma.
Right.
I thought, well, this is an important part of the healing process.
Mhm.
The Not just the shaking, not just the other yoga, the somatic yoga, but this myofascial release when it's done
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
I fully believe that there's so many things that the body can heal when it's relaxed, and a big reason why, and that we don't heal as quickly as we should, and we've got so many chronic diseases that are coming. Yeah, there's issues with food and there's issues with all the other stuff, but a lot of it is we don't give our body time to relax and heal and just calm down, and so the stress level that we're creating impacts more than just, oh, I have a headache, or I have, you know, like I'm putting on weight because I'm stressed about all these things. Like it's so much more. And you sort of talking about that with the fascia, and like there it when we're so tightly wound, like we can't deal with the other stuff because we just can't deal with anything.
Yeah, because our cortisol levels are sky high.
Yeah.
And then there's the enteric nervous system connection. And yeah, it can have a snowball effect on us.
Yeah.
Definitely. And another reason to take a holistic approach.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's
It's
why
amazing.
it's so great to do the simple things, like go out in nature, ground yourself in the ground, like the simple things that we know calm us down. And I laughed when I did it today, but I was driving down a street to get home, and there was an older gentleman sitting on his porch, and he just waved at me. And I laughed because I was like, nobody does that anymore.
No, no.
Nobody
And
just
even
sits on their
older
porch.
generation.
Yep. And I think back to like when I was a kid, of course, it was, before cable television was in every home, before cell phones, before,
Yeah.
computers were in every home. And I think back and
Mm,
I'm like, how many times did I go visit grandparents and we would just sit outside
take in
and
the
be like,
moment.
we just like, what are we doing? Nothing. We're just sitting,
Yeah.
and
We're
like
giving
how
brains.
calming that is for your body.
Yeah, and that's what yoga will say. Yoga is the cessation of the fluctuations of the mind. And when we do that, we stop believing our thoughts
Mhm.
and we get out of our heads and we calm down and we achieve more inner happiness. Yeah. So mental training, really,
Yeah.
yoga. But yeah, I've noticed it too. Like even when I was on holidays last year in Greece, and I would just be walking around, taking it all in, or going on the beach and practicing a walking meditation,
Mm.
just feeling every bit of it, my feet ground down slowly, taking it all in, acting like I'd never walked before.
Yeah.
And it can be amazing. I guess with my yoga training, I know that sometimes this is not possible for some, like I've got ADHD as well. So it's often we need to meet our mood, like meet ourselves
Yeah.
where we are and burn off some energy, not
Right.
exacerbate the energy, like run a marathon if we're already frenetic,
Sure.
but burn it off and then get into that stage of that mindfulness. And sometimes we need, as Amy Weintraub says, author of Yoga for Depression and Yoga Skills for Therapists, we need to give the mind a bone. Like, how, I don't know, if you're a dog person,
Yep.
My spoodle, if she doesn't have a bone, she chews up the hose in the backyard or, so it's like we give because a lot of people struggle with mind meditation and often we need another anchor point.
Right.
So we often use other tools in yoga, and I've done this with clients who said, no, I can't meditate. And I've said, well, I can give you this tool and this tool to help you meet your mood and then get into the doorway, open the portal into
Right.
meditation and use these tools to give your mind something else to focus on.
Yeah.
And that's why, a personalized practice can be really important because we're all so different.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of
reminding people that, like, just with meditation, with yoga, with really anything that we start, like you're not going to be an expert right away. It's not going to necessarily feel perfect right away. It may be really messy. You may be like, I'm not feeling what you're telling me I'm supposed to be feeling, but like, that doesn't mean that you just give up after one try. It's, keep attempting, because not that you got to try for, 6 months and it's still not working. Okay, well, maybe it's not for you, and that's okay. But one time and it not being right is also not a sign to quit and it's not going to work.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what a lot of people do. They're like, but my mind is so busy. And it's like, well, that's normal.
Yeah.
That's what our minds do. We have whirlpools of thoughts, and it's pointless to say to your mind, stop thinking. I see it more as in COVID. I was in Melbourne at the time, and we were the COVID capital of Australia. It was frustrating for us when everyone else was free.
Yeah.
We had over 240 days of lockdown over a 2-year period. So it wasn't in one go, but it was a long time.
Yeah.
And I explained to my students, it's like practicing social distancing. You were told, don't go over and start a conversation with your neighbors. Say hi, keep going, keep a distance. So it's what we try to do with our thoughts. We acknowledge them, we're a witness to them at a distance, but yeah, they're going to come back up.
Oh, yeah.
And, it can take a long time to empty that mind. And sometimes we just do it for a few seconds, but it can have a tremendous amount of benefit on your mental health.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
That's why I say persevere. If it's frustrating you, there are different ways to open that portal. And there's nothing wrong with you. If it works with your friend, that's fine. As I like to say, yoga practices are like penicillin. One practice could be medicine for me, like Sudarshan Kriya, a specialized meditation, but I know I've got a relative and that would be absolute poison to him. So, we're different. And and a lot of people don't find yoga accessible. And if you're listening to this and you're saying, oh God, I can't do those fancy poses.
Right.
Yeah, one of the majority of the population who can't. And there are other ways to practice yoga
Mhm.
off the mat, and even simpler practices
Yeah.
that are portable, that even can be practiced at work, especially if you have got a stressful job
Right.
and you need to have that nervous system hack.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's another piece of it. Just like we don't want trauma to be stored up, over time without dealing with it. We don't want stress to be stored up over time if we're in a job that's really demanding, or and we may love the job, but it's just a function of the job that you've got to deal with a lot. And so having those moments and knowing that, like, okay, I need to take a little self-care moment here or there to release some of that stress before it gets too much.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the beauty of yoga, or some self-care practices that aren't yoga based, is you can break it up throughout your day,
Mhm.
and that's how you can cultivate a consistent daily yoga practice.
Right.
And there are things you can do at work, which I've given to clients who've been going through bullying
Mm.
and having panic attacks at work, some one of which was who had PTSD. And that's the beauty of it. Unfortunately, not all these sorts of yoga practices are taught in classes,
Right.
because a lot of them can't be, or the teachers aren't aware of them.
Mhm.
But it's great if we I like to spread the word that there are other yoga practices there that
Right.
don't involve standing on your head. Yeah.
Right. Well, Liz, so how can people connect with you, follow you, learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, so my website is www.lizalbaniswellness. You'll have how to spell my last name, which is actually
Right.
Greek, .com.au.
Okay.
I've got a 14-day free trial for my 3R program, Release, Relax, Restore. So you can get a little snippet of the program, and it's got four meditations to download as well. And I've also got a personalized yoga practice where you work one-on-one with me for me to create a practice suited to your needs, ability,
Awesome.
and goals. And there is a trial for that to get a little snippet of part of the program, because my programs don't just have practices in them, they have lectures, webinars on
Oh,
the why behind the how.
yeah.
I think it's important to understand why you're doing something, because it makes you want to do it more, and it
Mhm.
makes you understand which practices might work for you. And then I also offer yoga teacher mentoring, and I offer 30-minute discovery calls via Zoom
Right.
for the yoga designed for you, and for mentoring, so you can have a chat.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, and I love the educational piece in the explanation of why are you doing this? Why are you going through these steps of the practice? Because I think that helps alleviate some of the nervousness about, okay, well, maybe I can't do these things, or maybe I can't, you know, do these poses, or these, I'm not feeling it, or maybe I don't have the stamina to do some things. But when you understand why, then you can go like, okay, I can't do it now, but I know what I'm supposed to be getting in the future. So that's why I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, and I know the benefits, and if it's gonna suit me, yeah, and look, I've got a client who's got a major back issue, spinal issue. She did not find group classes accessible, and she felt humiliated in them. And if this has been you and you're listening, you're not the only one.
Right.
And so I've tailored a program for her that is accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm.
Well,
Yeah.
Liz, is there anything that we didn't touch on that you think someone out there who is needing to deal with their trauma, needing to figure out, or maybe they've already started yoga somewhere and they're not seeing the same type of like practices being done, right? It's more of a a fitness yoga studio than a true traditional. Like, what would you tell that person who's just beginning, who's still like not seeing the results and sort of a little bit frustrated?
Yeah, and that's possible because a lot of, as we said earlier, a lot of the modern day yoga classes are fitness type dance routines. The difference with the somatic yoga is we don't focus on the aesthetics, on the perfect pose, which doesn't exist, by the way.
Right.
We don't focus on the person next to us. We focus on the mindfulness, breath awareness helps, and the sensations you feel in your body and moving slower. And I'd hope a good teacher would guide it that way, but no, some teachers are very dogmatic and say you have to do it this way because they don't know any better. They don't understand skeletal variation, for one, with their anatomy knowledge. That's another
Right.
issue in the industry. So if that doesn't work, you might need to try a different studio. Some studios have trauma-informed specific classes. There are some studios that have trauma sensitive, which is copyrighted. So I don't call myself that.
Right.
And I just be careful about if they've got acute trauma, like acute PTSD, they really need to work one-on-one with a psychotherapist and don't do a shaking meditation because it could release stuff too quickly and do more damage than good.
Right.
So us yoga teachers have to be careful with such meditations.
Yeah.
And if that's not possible, well, check my website out. And try the freebies. And I've done trauma specific training, even if you're on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And next year I'll be a qualified yoga therapist. And I have some understanding. I don't know exactly what that person's been through, but I have an understanding of trauma.
Right.
But yeah, it's a lot of yoga classes are not trauma informed, and there's there's yoga teachers that think, oh, it's just because it's a yoga class, it's good for trauma. It sometimes can do more damage than good. Like I'll give a quick example if you don't mind.
Yeah.
This is one of the easy examples. We've had horrible bushfires here in Australia, as you know. And there was a student who was a bushfire victim. And we've got these eucalyptus trees, which they do have in LA because they're drought tolerant, but they're also bombs. And the teacher lit incense in the class. And the smell reminded her of the eucalyptus trees burning in the fire. And she had a panic attack. So and this is not something even I would have thought of years ago, because I've worked at studios where you had to light incense, but so be careful which classes they go to. Maybe call the studio or maybe take a friend with you, a support person as well. Yeah. But send me an email if you have some questions or whatever, or want to chat. I'd love to help people out and share how it's got to me to the other side, because without yoga, I don't think I'd be here today.
Yeah.
And, I was so grateful last year after the fire that I had other tools to get me through.
Right. Well, and that's why I wanted to bring you on, is to provide tools for people, because, it's so important to dig down and deal with the trauma that's in there, because it's going to show up negatively at some point if you don't. And we don't know when that's going to happen. Like, it could happen anywhere, anytime, right? And even in moments when you think, like the story you just shared, even in moments when you think you're doing the right thing to heal yourself, you can be triggered in that environment as well. And so, like, it's so important to have the tools, and so that's why I love what you're doing and appreciate it so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Actually, the trial for my yoga designed for you, I forgot to mention, is this a new thing for me? It has an IRS protocol, yoga nidra there, a relaxation meditation, IRES was developed by Dr. Richard Miller for war veterans with PTSD, and they've done scientific research on it. So it's got that in. Doesn't involve a yoga pose. And there's a really lovely pranayama breath work called bee breath on there that can be great automatic nervous system hack.
Oh, yeah.
So I might want to try that out for some things to start off with.
Awesome. Well, Liz, I want to thank you so much for being a guest. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for having me, Jerry. I'm really grateful and for this experience. It's been wonderful.
Thank you. Thanks for checking out the Confidence Through Health podcast. Please subscribe, post a review, share this episode with those you love who need a little extra help with their health journey. Visit allinhealthandwellness.com to learn more about the coaching programs that I provide. All episodes are produced by the Social Media Cowboys, your source for all online marketing needs. Go to socialmediacowboys.com for more information.